side of things as well, where, I mean, I thought coming from an IT background, I had pretty good security practices in the way I'd set up my environment. And like I said, I understood the tech well enough, but I was still doing dumb things like leaving way too much on exchanges and things like that. And without a word of a lie, when Hex launched, it was the reason why I grabbed everything, all my Bitcoin, like it made me go through and do a full sweep of just get all my Bitcoin off onto wallets so then I could free claim. And then that was a cascading effect where I went, okay, now that I'm in this mindset of, okay, you just don't leave things on exchange. You rip it all off, you put it onto your...
Could you explain that too, just for people who don't understand? You know, we've heard a million times, don't put your coins on exchanges, but like, why? You know, like what are the different things about that?
Yeah. So, and look, what we've seen play out this cycle is a clear indication of why you should not leave your coins on exchanges. The main reason why you wouldn't initially was there was a lot of hacks going on. So an exchange would get hacked and it'd be like a big honeypot. So anyone that wanted to launch an attack, they're going to go for this big pot of money. That's a big incentive for them to work hard and try and crack this pot open. And possibly some of that was inside jobs as well. You just never know. So it was more about protecting from hacks. But this time around, completely different story. This time around, exchanges or trusted entities. So we've just seen Voyager, Celsius. That was a slightly different thing, not so much an exchange, but Voyager was an exchange.
Custodians,
these guys,
I guess.
Yeah, they're custodians, and they have inappropriately used the deposits of their users. So they've gone and lent them out to the likes of Three Arrows Capital to get some sort of return off of that lending for those assets to pay yields to people that are on their platforms and do other things like that. and so you get an issue, and sorry, I've got a dog going mad in the background if you can hear that.
No
yeah, so you get this issue in the space this time where we had this contagion effect where something failed, Terra Luna failed, and then it's gone across the whole sector. So a lot of these custodians that have been mishandling these funds are just wiped out. So you shouldn't be leaving your funds on an exchange for the hacking reason, or you don't know what the hell they're doing with your funds when they're on there. You see the balance where it says, I've got 5 Bitcoin on this exchange, but you haven't got 5 Bitcoin. You've got an internal database that says you've got 5 Bitcoin. What the hell they're doing with your Bitcoin, you don't know. So yeah, that's the main reason why you don't want things left on a custodial service, especially when they don't have a guarantee that they're keeping your funds separate from anything else they're doing.
It almost sounds like you're talking about a bank that's not FDIC insured, for example. It almost sounds like
exactly that. Yeah. And if you go down that path, even that as well, though, the FDIC insurance only covers a certain amount. So if you've got more than that in there, hey, I think they did change that recently. I think over our way it's $250 or something like that.
Okay. Keeping up with inflation.
Yeah. all different rules around the world, but it's not full protection, and that was the reason why we got into crypto, was to be able to be self-sovereign and look after our own funds and not have them be in the control of someone else. So that was I always knew that, and that's what attracted me to the space, but it wasn't until Hex came along where I went, okay, now I've got a reason to actually drag all this stuff off. And so that's what I went and done.
Well, so what would you say to people who, the first response, if you tell that to people often, well, but how do I get it in and out? How do I get it into fiat? How do I buy it and sell it if it's not on an exchange? What would, what would be your response to them? Is just use a DEX, or is it just,
we're pretty lucky in Hex. It's a double-edged sword. Like we're lucky because we can trade purely on chain with the likes of Uniswap and various DEXs. And we're also fortunate that we've got stable coins that we can use as that that safe haven. Make sure you're choosing the right stable coins, and
yeah,
I'm happy to go into that later on. But yeah, we've got that. We've got the ability to be able to trade on chain and have that that store where we can escape the volatility if we need to. Which typically, before the DEXs and the stable coins were popular, you had to do on exchange. So that was the main reason you would use an exchange back then. Now, the use of exchanges for me, anyway, is purely as a ramp if I'm bringing in fiat or taking out fiat. So what would I say to everyone is it needs to be part of your process that let's go through the whole steps of bringing funds in. You send money from your bank to the exchange. You trade that into whatever you want, whatever crypto you want. And part of your process should be move it from the exchange to your wallet. Your transaction's not complete until you do that full route and it ends up in your wallet. So if you don't get lazy, don't leave it sitting on exchange. Get it off straight away. The fees for sending it off are not. It's a small price to pay to know that your funds are safe, assuming you've set up your own environment correctly.
Yeah, and if you're staking hex and you're trusting an audited smart contract, so that cuts out a lot of the middleman. It cuts out a lot of the risk of leaving it somewhere where you don't have access. They are not your keys, not your coins.
So we in this space, and it doesn't matter whether you're in crypto or TradFi, you accept a certain amount of risk. Nothing is risk-free. You've got to, in this space, you get to choose where you put your risk. And for me, putting it in a smart contract that has been running flawlessly for a couple of years now, that's not a bad place to leave it, as opposed to centralized exchanges where the rules are subject to change at their whim.
I think